So Prime Minister Gaston Brown is at this moment meeting with the Indian High Commissioner, and some of you who are staying up with who are acquainted with the current goings on know that there's a chap here by the name of Choksi, an Indian billionaire, and he has become a citizen of Antigua and Barbuda by way of our Citizenship by Investment program. Well, we do something called due diligence. In other words, we find out everything we can about anyone before they become a citizen of Antigua and Barbuda. St. Kitts and Nevis has that program. Dominica, Grenada, St. Lucia all have that program. And we do a very good job at ensuring that people who become citizens of Antigua and Barbuda are worthy of our passport. And this billionaire was worthy, according to all the checking that we did. And since becoming a citizen of Antigua and Barbuda, something arose which gives the impression that he has done something unlawful. So the Indian High Commissioner is here to speak with Prime Minister Gaston Brown.
All right, Hurst confirming that Republic Newsbreak that Aditya Gauta's Indian High Commissioner has met the Antiguan Prime Minister Oval Mehul Choksi. Now, Aditya, you were mentioning there are some legal hurdles, but there's also a clause in Antigua, isn't it, that shows that anyone who wants to get in citizenship in Antigua, their citizenship can be cancelled if it was obtained through, false statements. So is India likely to invoke that? What's the next legal step that India can take?
Well, just like there are hurdles in the process of getting Vijay Mallya back, other economic offenders back, similarly in this case as well, Mehul Choksi has been smart enough to choose a country where the laws allow citizenship through investment program. So that's the case that happened here. But yes, there's a clause in that citizenship and investment program where clearly if there are false details that have been given and submitted by the economic offender Mehul Choksi, and India is likely to prove that in a court of law, then certainly his extradition will take place. But this again will be a long process unless there is diplomatic pressure put on Antigua, because the statement clearly states that India has been very kind to Antigua in the past. There have been economic relations that India has had. India has helped Antigua as well in the economic upliftment. So Antigua should realize the consequences this particular citizenship can have on the bilateral relations between India and Antigua Barbuda. So Republic TV, the only channel in India to get the statement of the Antiguan government on Mehul Choksi and the details surrounding it, how the meeting in detail happened, and how the Antigua government is also informed about this fresh legal challenge. Remember, the Prime Minister of Antigua, Gaston Brown, exclusively speaking to Republic TV just a few days ago, had indicated that yes, they will be willing to cooperate, but there are legal challenges ahead. The citizenship has been done after due diligence and investigation, and there was some problem from the Indian government side where a red corner notice was not issued against Mehul Choksi, and that's why there were no hurdles in the process of him obtaining a citizenship in Antigua. So it's a big story we are breaking today and getting more details of the same. The Indian government has finally taken note of the Republic super exclusive interview with Prime Minister Gaston Brown about the location and confirmation of the location of Mehul Choksi in Antigua and Barbuda. And finally, in St. John's, there has been a meeting between the Indian envoy, High Commissioner Mahalingam, in fact, meeting Prime Minister Gaston Brown, raising concerns from India and conveying that it's important that the extradition takes place at the earliest. And certainly legally, the Indian government will be proving inside the court of law that extradition is absolutely necessary, and he is an economic offender giving false information to the Antiguan government.
Absolutely. Remember, even Republic TV had spoken to the Antiguan Prime Minister Gaston Brown himself, and now we are getting a reaction from his Chief of Staff, who has confirmed Republic TV's Newsbreak that Indian High Commissioner has in fact met the Antiguan Prime Minister. Listen.
So Prime Minister Gaston Brown is at this moment meeting with the Indian High Commissioner, and some of you who are staying up with who are acquainted with the current goings on know that there's a chap here by the name of Choksi, an Indian billionaire, and he has become a citizen of Antigua and Barbuda by way of our Citizenship by Investment program. well, we do something called due diligence. In other words, we find out everything we can about anyone before they become a citizen of Antigua and Barbuda. St. Kitts and Nevis has that program. Dominica, Grenada, St. Lucia all have that program. And we do a very good job at ensuring that people who become citizens of Antigua and Barbuda are worthy of our passport. And this billionaire was worthy, according to all the checking that we did. And since becoming a citizen of Antigua and Barbuda, something arose which gives the impression that he's done something unlawful. So the Indian High Commissioner is here to speak with Prime Minister Gaston Brown.
Now remember, recently Prime Minister Narendra Modi had said that India will not spare economic offenders and send them to jail. Now India putting pressure on Antigua over Mehul Choksi. Aditya Raj Kaul joining us with the latest news break on this. Indian High Commissioner has in fact met the Antiguan Prime Minister over Mehul Choksi. Aditya, also India had requested Antigua earlier to stop Mehul Choksi from travelling around the world, isn't it?
Well, yes, yesterday we had learned from our sources that the Ministry of External Affairs had informed, importantly, the Antiguan government to not let Mehul Choksi leave the borders of Antigua until this case is really settled. But this is a big development taking place days after Republic TV got the first confirmation from the Prime Minister of Antigua, Gaston Brown, that Mehul Choksi, the economic offender, is very much in Antigua. He has taken the citizenship. Now the Indian government has taken note of the Republic super exclusive and raised concern with Antigua government. In fact, Republic TV, the only channel to get minute-to-minute updates and first an exclusive statement from the government of Antigua and Barbuda on that entire meeting between economic offender Mehul Choksi, uncle of Nirav Modi, and of course this entire episode that has transpired in the wake of Indian government and the agencies pressing for his extradition. We had earlier reports that he had fled to US and some other countries, but finally sometime last month he had moved from US to Antigua and launched this entire drive to get his citizenship. Now also, importantly, Shobit, it's important to mention that Republic TV again is the only channel to get the information about a fresh case that has been pressed by Mehul Choksi in the court of Antigua. This is in the High Court in Antigua at St. John's, where he has approached to stop and ban this entire move of extradition because he is a very legitimate citizen of Antigua under the given laws and rules and regulations. So it will be a Herculean challenge and a massive task before the Indian government and the Indian diplomats, and perhaps the diplomacy will be a test as to how they will convince the Antigua government that the extradition of this economic offender, Mehul Choksi, is absolutely necessary. So exclusive statement of Antigua government has been accessed by Republic TV that clearly indicates that Antigua government and the Prime Minister Gaston Brown has conveyed a profound willingness to help the Indian government for the extradition of Mehul Choksi, but legal challenges are there ahead. It is now a matter which is sub judice also in an Antiguan court.
Absolutely. Now, in fact, Republic TV can tell our viewers that Choksi is asking for a declaration from the court that by virtue of section 119.1 of the Constitution, a citizen of Antigua and Barbuda, he says that no lawful basis exists for the extradition of Mr. Choksi under Section 5 of the 1993 Extradition Act. That's the latest that we are getting on this. What is Choksi's appeal in the Antiguan court? Aditya Raj Kaul getting us the latest of that. After this, the Indian High Commissioner has also met the Antiguan Prime Minister. Aditya, Antiguan Prime Minister assuring of all help. But what is the legal process now for India? As far as this case is concerned, there are laws on both sides, laws like you mentioned that says that a citizenship that has been obtained through illegal or wrong statements can be cancelled, but Choksi himself has approached the court, India stepping up pressure with the Prime Minister himself.
Well, yes, if I would like to read from the very statement that the Antiguan government has shared with Republic TV, it clearly says in that statement that Prime Minister Brown explained that the citizenship of Mr. Choksi could only be revoked with a cause based on whether or not Mr. Choksi had made false assertions or made material omissions of relevant facts during the citizenship application process. He further pointed out that going the route of extradition also presented legal difficulties because India was omitted from the list of states parties under the Commonwealth Extradition Act 2000, where only half the current Commonwealth membership was listed. In effect, this meant that the legal basis for extradition between both countries was non-existent. It's important to mention that the entire top brass of the Antiguan government was present apart from the Prime Minister. While Prime Minister Brown was there, there were also other important members of his cabinet. We have a list of the same as well. Prime Minister Brown was accompanied by Minister of Foreign Affairs E.P. Chet Green and Honorary Stendry Benjamin, Attorney General, and his legal team, including Mr. Martin Kameko, who's the Solicitor General, and Miss Carla Harris, who is the Senior Legal Counsel, as well as Ambassador Colin Murdoch, who's the Senior Advisor to Prime Minister Brown. So it's an important meeting that has taken place only late last night to discuss the entire Mehul Choksi case and what are the options really between these two nations. So India has reminded Antigua of the great relations that the two countries enjoy, and this case shouldn't have a diplomatic impact on this relationship. Henceforth, and a request has been conveyed that the citizenship should be revoked. Also, in a few days from now, India will be formally approaching Antigua with legal documentation and evidence for the extradition request, and the pressure building tactics diplomatically on the other side will also begin to get back this economic offender Mehul Choksi to India to face music.
Absolutely. Now, Mehul Choksi has been named the mastermind of this entire scam, which also involves his nephew Nirav Modi, of duping several public sector banks of $1 billion worth of scam this is. But Aditya, he was granted an Antiguan passport barely months before this scam came to light, and India has been hot on his trails. But there is no extradition treaty between India and Antigua, so that is likely to make this process difficult, isn't it?
The Indian diplomats as well as to how to convince Antigua in wake of there being no extradition treaty between India and Antigua and Barbuda. So it is a big development taking shape. India has formally requested that the citizenship should be revoked and the extradition should happen at the earliest because of the economic offense that has taken place. But there are legal hurdles in the process. That's what Prime Minister Gaston Brown has conveyed. Over the last 7 months, Shobit, Mehul Choksi has been on the run along with Nirav Modi and some others. And Indian government has been on their trail. There were reports of them being in US, in Singapore and some other countries as well, but big development taking shape right now. The Antiguan government has confirmed the presence of Mehul Choksi in Antigua, but Mehul Choksi also approaching the court to stop the extradition process. And finally, Indian government taking note of the Republic TV super exclusive interview with Prime Minister Gaston Brown and requesting for his extradition.
Right. Aditya Rajkaul joining us with the latest. Indian High Commissioner in Antigua has met the Antiguan Prime Minister and stepped up pressure to extradite Mehul Choksi.